You ever wonder what it would be like to have people work for you while you're comfortably sleeping?
So we're going to talk about today how to hire somebody specifically in the Philippines.
Hey everybody, it's Scott Christopher once again talking to Nate Woodbury, YouTube guru, marketing genius guy, to help all of us make more money and just do what we want to do on YouTube, which I love. You've been doing this for some time now. How did you get involved in it? And really, we're going to talk more specifically now about some of the resources that you avail yourself of that seem sort of out of reach to people. Well, I need a staff of 100 to do this or that. But let's start talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, outsourcing in the Philippines. I first got the idea of outsourcing from the book The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss.
All
Don't
right.
know if you've heard
Yes,
of that one.
of course, sure.
So I learned a lot from that book. I got a lot of great ideas that I was able to implement, but as much as he talked about outsourcing, it still seemed foreign to me. Like, okay, maybe one day I'll be able to hire an employee.
Literally,
in a
no
foreign
pun
country.
intended. He didn't even catch it.
I didn't catch it.
His
What did I say?
outsourcing sounded foreign to me. I just think that's very funny. I mean, he's this unintentional comedian. All right, keep going. Anyway.
It did. It was foreign, so it was like so unknown. It wasn't until about 18 months after being introduced to it through Tim Ferriss that a friend of mine, John, showed me his virtual assistant tool that he'd created and showed me how easy it was to actually hire people. And he told me specifically why I should be hiring people in the Philippines, and maybe we could talk about that. But that very night, I went on to this website, this virtual assistant tool, and I could search, and I found somebody, and I hired my first person within like 36 hours.
And it's not that the person themselves, him or herself, is virtual. In other words, when you say virtual assistant, we're talking about a living, breathing human being. It's just that they're not next to you as your assistant. So the term virtual is a bit of a misnomer, at least the way I'm hearing it.
So here I'm hiring somebody on the other side of the...
It's an outsourced assistant.
Somebody on the other side of the planet that we connect electronically through email, through video, or whatever.
Right.
They work for me, but they're not actually physically in my presence or come to my workplace.
Right. And so that kind of gives it the virtual hook.
My very first hire ended up in failure, but it was so funny, and I had such a great learning experience I caught the bug. Yeah.
Okay.
Failure mostly on my part because I was inexperienced. It was a great success that. So here's the story. So at the time, I was an employee doing telemarketing for a SEO company, a company called Orange Soda, and I had an independent contractor position for them as well. I wrote articles.
Okay.
So they wrote these articles to spam the internet with. Okay. They would pay me $10 to $12 per article. And when I learned about outsourcing, I hired a person to write these articles for me, and I paid her $2 to like $2.50 per article. But then I would turn them into my company and get paid $10 to $12 per article. So it was really cool. At first, I would proofread and kind of critique, but she got better and better, and so then I just kind of let her go, and we were doing 10 articles a day.
So this is like a ghostwriter for you. You're providing at least the topic, the content to some degree, but maybe she's doing some of the research and putting it together.
So the company would provide me a title. You need to write an article about this.
Yeah.
And so I would just give that title to her.
Oh.
She would write it.
Okay.
I'd pay her $2 or $3, and I'd get paid $10 or $12.
Yeah. Okay.
So great idea, right? It actually was a really good idea. I was so pumped up about it, and it worked for a while. Here's the problem.
Yeah, I can think
of
of
a few. The problem was she started plagiarizing. She would take paragraphs from other content out there and mix it into one article.
So she was plagiarizing.
She was plagiarizing,
but you
and
weren't.
I didn't.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I didn't check. In the beginning, I checked, but later on. So by the time I noticed, I went back in history and found that she had done that on the previous 50 articles, that round number 50. And I was like, oh no, if my boss finds out, they're going to fire me. And I was like sweating about it. So I went in proactively and I went to the CEO of the company, and he thought it was hilarious. I told him the story. He just thought it was hilarious, but he says, I'm not the decision maker on this, and you got to go talk to your supervisor over here. And it was a young kid that liked having power, and he decided he was going to be mad at me about this. So I wasn't able to do that position anymore. He let me rewrite those 50 articles, and because they had already paid me on them. So I had to rewrite those. But I fired my assistant that was plagiarizing. Now,
Okay.
knowing what I know now, what I would have done or should have done is like I should have,
Written
checked-
the articles.
I should have. No, she was writing
Oh,
good
this-
articles.
okay.
For the purpose of SEO, I actually think it was a great strategy. My mistake, though, was not doing quality control, making sure that it was
Yes,
original
okay.
content. And I should have kept tabs on her more. And even if I did find that she was plagiarizing, I should have said, did you know that you're not supposed to do that? And remind her and just be a human about it. But instead I went, you're fired.
Yeah.
And, I was fired from my position too. And that was my first experience. But because it had worked for months, a few months, I just like, this is so awesome because I could hire somebody for $400 a month.
So that's where you kind of thought, this is a workable model.
Yeah. Guess how many people I had working for me a few months later. We're talking 3 or 4 months later.
Working for you, doing
Okay,
what?
so
Give me
after
the parameters here.
I had quit my job.
Are you all of a sudden a world famous painter and people are painting things for you?
Within a few weeks after this experience, at the same time that I hired this person to do the articles for me,
Right, okay.
I was tinkering around with website design. And I had advertised locally on Craigslist and found a couple clients. They were happy. And so I quit my job, went full-time with that. And within a few months, I had 10 full-time employees in the Philippines working for me, doing the website design.
Well, that explains how you said, gosh, I have designed over 500 websites. I'm going, where did you find time to do all that? Now, that makes sense. I mean, it all makes sense. But I just have one question. I know everyone's dying to know. So when she wrote these articles, I mean, and they were turned in, did she have the byline? I mean, or was it?
Oh, it was me.
Of
course.
Yeah,
They're my assistant.
I know, that's all I'm saying.
Ghostwriter.
Okay, all right. No, you're right. People ghostwrite all the time. You know, old, what's his name? Patterson. He hasn't written a novel in 100 years. It's always someone else. But he puts their name on the cover, Nate.
You know what? I admit, I don't even know if my name was on it. If a name would have been on it, it would have been me.
Oh, it might have just been.
But it was just used for the company to do
that's fine.
their SEO article.
As long as you're telling them, which you ultimately did once she got caught plagiarizing. It's a good story. This is the beauty of watching these videos, is you kind of get into the mind of Nate and where he's come from and why he's actually pretty darn good at what he does now. Although the background of using outsourcing is a bit nefarious to me, the current state of your outsourcing.
So that story, I hired that girl 8.5 years ago now. So
okay,
that's
so
going back
that's almost
8.5
that's
years.
what I'm saying. You've grown, you've lost a few hairs,
A couple of them.
but you've gained some more.
There's a huge variety of people that this works really well for, of type of skill sets you can hire people for.
Yeah.
I've had great success with all things that are computer related. So from graphic designers, web designers, even computer programmers. I had some great, I'll just tell a quick side story. So I don't know programming. I started a web design company, but I don't know any programming.
Okay.
But when I got into that space, I had some clients that needed some custom programming work. And so I hired a couple of custom programmers, and it was going well, but it was hard for me to know how to bill for their hours, how to estimate how long it would take. And I ended up selling these 2 employees, like kind of a finder's fee. I charged a finder's fee and gave those employees to them. But here's the cool part. So not only did I get a fee for being a finder's fee, but I negotiated the rate that the employer was going to pay them as double as what I was paying them. So I totally hooked them up.
Wow.
Anyway, but so you can find people that are great at all things design.
And
on
are
the
they
computer.
so they come to the table already educated and trained, certain skill sets, but you've got to kind of train them on what you want them to do for you. Does that require you going to the Philippines?
I've never been. I want to. I'm hoping to go this year. But so
it's just all virtually done?
Yeah, so what you first said is correct. They have the computer, they have the skill sets. A lot of them have college degrees.
Right.
And you have to have a system. So you can't just say, oh, let's see, I want to start a web design company. I'm going to hire a web designer. Okay, you design websites. And I created a very step-by-step system. In my case, I had 4 different steps. We do this first, then we move on to this. And I had it outlined. This is exactly what you do. Mm-hmm. And I hired them to run my system. So it's kind of like what McDonald's, right? If you get hired, if you or I get hired to go flip burgers at McDonald's, we're not reinventing the wheel and figuring out, okay, how do we make burgers?
No, there's a workflow that's already set up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is how orders are made. This is how the burgers are flipped. This is how you put on the ketchup.
Right.
A system was set in place.
Yeah.
And I've had great success hiring people in the Philippines that are very skilled.
That can step into the system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic. So the bulk of the work that you do is what? Because clearly you're resting peacefully while on the other side of the world they're doing this part of the work for you.
So yeah, about how the time zone works is about 5 p.m. here is when my team in the Philippines, get up, finish breakfast, and start working for me. So it's pretty cool to know that I can work a full day and I can think of lots of different tasks or tweaks or instructions I want to give them, and that by the time I start my work the next morning, they've already implemented it.
And if I may say, we're specifically referring to these videos. I mean, that's what you're outsourcing to the Philippines for, primarily.
Yeah, right now, because we do YouTube production, I have lots and lots and lots of video editors that these people do rough cuts, these people do fine cuts, text effects cuts. This is my keyword research team. This is my YouTube launch team.
Yeah, and you're able to do this for $400 or $500 a month?
It's insane. And so this is the thing that, on one hand, it's obviously a great blessing to me, and I'm tempted to think, but isn't that taking advantage of them? Well, in the Philippines, as I've come to learn, it really is a third world country, and it's really hard for them to find a good paying job. And when I've learned what they've been willing to do for $400 a month, they will leave their family for 6 months to go to another island and work a job that works 14 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week, sending their money back to their family. And then when that job is done, they come home and they have to find another job. And so if I can pay them the same or bump it up $100 a month, pay them $500 a month, and they only have to work 40 hours a week, and I let them control their schedule, just be a consistent 8 hours a day on weekdays, and they get the flexibility. Sometimes there's power outages, and I understand that, but the feedback that I've gotten from them is just of gratitude and appreciation, and it's really humbling, the gratitude that they show me for giving them this opportunity. And so I'm obviously so grateful, and they're the ones editing this video, so I'll talk to you editors. I'm so grateful to you because it's just provided a huge opportunity here. It's allowed me to create this company, that services that I can do, and the efficiency and the prices that I can sell my services for, that just wouldn't be possible if I had to hire somebody here and had to pay them 8 or 10 times that amount per month. I wouldn't have this company.
Wow, it's a truly symbiotic kind of work relationship. It's very cool. Yeah. So if somebody wants to, so you're sharing secrets. What do they do to do this?
I'll even include a link below where you find it. It's the virtual assistant tool that I use, and it's simply a directory where there's a couple 100,000 people now in the Philippines that say, I want to work for an American boss. Oh. And they've expanded it now to the UK and Australia, but they're basically saying, I need more opportunity. I can't find a good job here. I've got all this talent and skill. They'll list it out. This is what I'm good at. By the way, they all speak really good English.
Yeah, I know.
They speak English good.
They do indeed.
But they communicate fantastic. Their communication is fantastic, and they'll put their picture there. They'll have on the website, there's actually a reliability score to know if it's a real profile or if it's a copy. So you can really filter it down. I need people that know how to use Adobe Premiere. I need people that are, really good at editing sound for podcasts or whatever you're searching for. You can find that person right there on their virtual assistant tool.
And with today's world, you just upload all of your files into a Dropbox or something, and they are right there on the other end grabbing them.
Exactly.
Wow, very cool.
So what is holding you back from hiring a full-time assistant? $500 a month, what would you have them do? That's the question.
Boy, I'll tell you, there should be nothing holding you back at this point. That is $500 a month, whatever. You've said it all.